love potions. So we have one first example that Faroni goes into, and it's about Deianira's mistake. So Heracles, you may have heard of him before, or Hercules, Heracles brings home a lady after he's been on a long military exhibition. Remember, multiple wives were a thing this time. And his wife is jealous, finding it rude. So she uses the poisoned blood that she received from a centaur to stain a robe that she then gives to Heracles. Now, the backstory is this centaur was dying. She gets the blood, and it's like last things where whoever touches this blood will become well disposed to you forever, will love you forever, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so the robe is given to Heracles. And what it is supposed to do, according to the story, is it's supposed to make him never look at another woman or love another woman as much as Deianira. Can't say that name well. Unfortunately, the poison kills him, so that's not good. And when the interpretation comes up of this, it's not considered bad that she used the spell. Not at all. That's not a bad thing. The bad thing is that she miscalculated. And usually the miscalculation is something like, if I put 2 drops on, he'll love me so much. But if I put, 12 drops on, he'll love me that much more. Unfortunately, there's this subtle problem with these love potions, and that often they can kill somebody. So what do we learn on this? And we know that, in fact, she is legally punished and legally culpable because she failed to use the right dosage, and the wrong dosage killed Heracles, the great hero. So what do we learn from this? We learn that Greek women gave their husbands love potions, probably quite often, but they would only do it in very small doses. So why would they do this love magic? Is it just to get the affection of their husband? Well, we have to remember that there's a widespread patterns in wives who use love magic as they jockey among their competitors for the support and favor of their husbands. So you can imagine if you're in a polyandrous or polygamous or polyandrous, whatever. If you're in a situation where you have multiple wives or multiple husbands, there's going to be a lot of jockeying and politics for who's going to get the affection of the main person. So using magic was one of these ways that they would try to get an edge. And often when we see readings about this, people who are really good at using these magics are praised for it. People who don't, well, not so much. So there is an old saying that I really quite like that Faroni reported, and it said it's similar to using poisons to kill fish, which renders the fish poison. So this is when you put a poison in the water, and the fish would be like, oh, they'd be stunned, and they'd come to the surface, and you're like, ha-ha, I caught my fish. But then if you eat the fish, you're also eating the poison. Secondary predation. Problems of secondary predation. Anyway, so the fish caught in this way will be rendered poisoned. Sort of in the same way, like if you're using all of this magic against your husband, you're going to have a stunned, senseless, and crippled man. So that's not a man you want to have. So by too much restricting of his affections and his angers and his sexual desires and whatnot, he is very much unmanned and maybe no longer is all that desirable of a partner. Remember, we always wish to be the one who loves most, and we often find ourselves in a greater position of power in relationships as the one who loves the least. But if you could artificially make your partner the one who loves you the most, then you would inherently be the one that loves the least, and then you're in that kind of shitty situation. Because what do you do when that charming, devil-may-care, super cool, masculine dude? I know I'm just using these just general gender things. We're talking about Greek culture. Anyway, when suddenly he's just like a sad little lapdog. I feel like we've seen this in comedies throughout time, especially in the 20th century. All right, so there's also a widespread anxiety and trope about wives miscalculating the portions of the magic and killing their husbands. So we got to see that these anxieties are in light of pharmacons and poisons and love magics being really common and revealing that these are primarily rites and techniques used by women against men. Now, we do see many famous men laid low and even killed by this love magic, including the Emperor Caligula, who is thought to be driven mad and then killed by love potions. You can look more into Caligula yourself at some point. So these stories about men being drugged suggest that women ought to be very careful. For the great culpability here is giving the wrong dosage, not using the magic in the first place, but using the wrong dosage and doing real damage. Women ought only give the portions in very small, calculated amounts. However, the Greek terms in these rituals about emotions are not erotic amorism. They're not making the husband just want to make love all the time. They have this good disposition. They want to protect the wealth, the family, and the social position of the wife. So in a way, that victim who loves more and is more amorous and favorable is generally going to help the social world of the operator. These aren't just about sexual access. And Farona even makes a point that maybe doing these rituals, if you got a cranky husband, could make the whole neighborhood a lot easier to deal with. All right. Oh, no, I have more to talk about. Okay, so we were talking about narcotics and knots. More narcotics. So the amulets, the tainted robes, and the face or ointments and potions reflect Greek women as preparers of food, medicine, and clothing. So of course, they're going to make food, they're going to make medicine, they're going to deal with clothing. So of course they have sort of a strong dominion over these types of magic contexts and material contexts. So differing from Eros, these rituals of philia are done up close. You are doing them against a single person. And you're not doing it like it's far off or they're unknown. Like an agoge ritual can be done at a great distance. These are close up. These are really close up from something you wear, some poison, a face ointment. You have to be near in proximity to the person. And the result is not an impassioned madness. So there are philia magic to make all men and all women well disposed to the woman wearing, generally. So I said there wasn't a general, there's a few of them. But most of these rituals are all toward a specific person. So we'll note that person being better disposed will make the victim more friendly and affectionate to others, as well as the operator. Oh, and here's this quote, doing a sort of service for the whole family and perhaps even the whole neighborhood. So erotic magic, we think of this Eros magic, arrives from a different place than philia magic. Eros magic, when we look at the building blocks of it, it comes out of a tradition of cursing people to have horrible things happen to them. But philia, when we look at these techniques, looks more like the healing arts, looks more like medicine. That said, the writing has a sinister tone. And death by pharmaconphilia is kind of a cautionary tale. So it might even be a folk tale to say, you might use these, but be careful. Men would be concerned, in fact, when they would notice that one other male started being increasingly well-mannered and well-disposed. If they suddenly begin renouncing their independent thoughts and acting with unnatural good cheer, there would be the fear that they're under the dominance of philia. So there are some impotence magic tricks. So one deployment of this strap and an amulet will make a man effeminate, and a woman bearing that strap will have no man able to have intercourse with her because he will be impotent. The strap is even engraved in this one instance with an image of a castrated man. So note again, he's not made to feel something in particular by this magic that makes him impotent, but his potency is destroyed and removed. Anger, as I keep saying, is connected to masculinity. Hence, anger is described with terms that mean to swell. We don't have to think too hard to think about male body parts that swell in anger and in amorousness. Not as much anger, but amorousness. The wife, in fact, by removing his sexual desires, which are thought to be connected also to his anger, removes his sexual desires and his anger, and she unmans him. He is made easier to deal with. His Mediterranean machismo is resolved and is no longer an issue. So in these rituals of potions, there's a lot of manipulation of plants. Now, erotic enhancements such as long erections and whatnot were also known to be affected by irritants. So actually, I've seen this in a bunch of different places, that skin irritants and herbal things that kind of aggravate the urethra will be used in magic procedures towards male sexual enhancement. I find that in China and India as well. Now, if you take too many of these erotic enhancements, it'll create priapism, a long, prolonged, and painful, and possibly fatal erection. Now, also, we'd see that narcotics are used in these love potions, which would make men more pliable, easier to deal with. But narcotics were thought in small doses, in very small doses, to stimulate the desire for lovemaking. So some pharmacons in small doses will generate passion, but in larger doses, the narcotic will subjugate the male victim, even killing him. There's a great chart for this on page 129 that you should take a look over, and that'll kind of sum it up really well.